Indiana Sports Beat Radio is brought to you by the fine folks at the Hard Truth Distilling Company, including Big Woods Restaurants and Quaffon Beers. You can find their great products in your area. If not, ask for Hard Truth. Their great products like their Hard Road Rye, Sweet Mash Bourbon, or the Toasted Coconut Rum. Ask for the Hard Truth. Indiana Sports Beat Radio is brought.
Oh, shoot.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, fine people. Welcome aboard on this Wednesday to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company here at the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, we appreciate you immensely. Appreciate all the peeps on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, lighting things up as well. And our great listeners, no matter where and how you're finding us. WJOB, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, the voice of the region. All of our great people down on the river, our river rats on 97.7 ESPN, always the right call, the ref. And Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Appreciate everybody there. Make sure you keep it tuned right here to all those stations if you're listening on radio, so you don't miss some great upcoming programming right here. And also, if you're on YouTube or if you're not, make sure you subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button and notifications toggle, and you won't ever miss a thing. We appreciate you. A great Wednesday lined up. Dylan Sin will be joining us. Cal Neddenriep from the Indy Star, and of course, the captain, Rick Bozich. Lots to get to. Donovan McCulley hitting the portal from Indiana football. Not a big surprise. If you're surprised, then you haven't been following along, but Indiana's top target from a year ago, top receiver from a year ago, has not been that this season. As a matter of fact, I was looking at the stats yesterday, and Indiana has thrown for a lot of yards already, of course. But let's see, 1,512 yards I think they have thrown for overall so far on the season. And of that, Donovan McCulley had 21 yards on 2 receptions. And he's played in only 4 games, so he can maintain his eligibility by hitting the transfer portal, which is what he'll do. And good luck to him. There are I think 8 or 9 receivers ahead of him in virtually every category. Receptions and all of that. So Indiana has a plethora of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different players not named Donovan McCulley that have caught a pass this year. They spread the ball out. That's one of the things that makes Indiana's defense and Kurt Cignetti's offense so difficult. I've talked about it all year. It is a multifaceted, multi-everything offense. It's not running and passing. It's a balanced running and passing attack, but it is a good, like right now, it's a good running game against a really good passing game. But you don't have, like, look at Maryland. their top receiver last week coming in. We knew who that was. And while Indiana's top target is Elijah Surratt, he's got 22 receptions compared to 16 for Omar Cooper and 16 for Miles Price. Those three guys, and you could throw Miles Cross in there. 4 guys, 13 receptions. Indiana has 4 receivers with double-digit receptions already. And while there is Elijah Surratt seems to be the leader, well, he doesn't seem to be. He is. He has gotten more targets. Well, at least has more catches. He has the longest touchdown pass of the season. He has the most yardage, 378. He's averaging 17.2 per catch. But Omar Cooper has an average of over 20 yards per catch. Pretty good. So Donovan McCulley, things not working out for him, and he's going to move on, which is fine. That's what it's for. So let that be the case. And Sarah. Byron Baldwin, still committed to the Hoosiers, although he has a lot of new suitors. He's a suitor, but especially a lot of attention from places like Colorado and prime time. I've had my fill, and it's nothing personal or against him, but I'm tired of TV and whatnot being so enamored with the bling bling in Colorado. What has he done yet? They had a losing season last year, and we'll see what they do this season, of course. But I'm still surprised that Curt Cignetti's not getting a little more attention, but they have not beaten anyone of note yet, Indiana. I mean that. They're going to have to beat Nebraska. They're going to have to handle their business at Northwestern and then beat Nebraska, beat Washington, go 8-0, get that stirred up. And it's unfortunate that you're going to have to go 8 games into the season to really get the attention, but that's going to be the case. Now, the good thing is the AP polls, you don't have to worry about that so much because teams like Indiana, very, very late start getting into there. And whether it's deserving or not, it's the case. It's how it is. But the College Football Committee, they wait. They probably won't come out, I don't know the date, but with their first list until towards the later ends of October, which is how it should be. So you can get an understanding of who's whom, of how teams are rolling. But we shall see. And Indiana, we talk about the craziness. I talked about they're going to be favored in every game the rest of the season, save for Ohio State. That would mean if that ends up being the case, which there's no reason that it won't be, because Indiana will be favored over Michigan at home. I promise you. ESPN's mock models currently has Indiana with a 60-something% chance of winning that game. So therefore, they're going to be favored in every one of these games, even at Michigan State by the time that game rolls around, because if you've got an 8-0 Indiana team, they're probably still pushing up great numbers. The craziness of that in and of itself. Curt Cignetti will win National Coach of the Year. Remember, you heard it here. some people don't like that. They think that I'm hyping. I'm not hyping. I'm telling you what I think. I'm doing the same thing I've always done. I've never not said what I thought. If it was good, great. If it's bad, sorry, but this is the reality, and at least from my vantage point. But this is good. I think I have held this belief now since early in the season. I just knew that this was going to be a special year for Indiana, and I think that they do make it to 11-1. I truly do. And that will be one of the most, if not the most remarkable turnarounds in the history of college football. If I'm wrong, which I very well could be, please someone point it out. But I cannot imagine that there has ever been anything like a team that has had one winning season outside of COVID, one winning season in 15 years. A team that was 3-9 a year ago, 1-8 in the Big Ten Conference, turning around and going 11-1, going 8-1 in the conference. That's never happened. That he'll be a runaway winner at National Coach of the Year. And then there's the concern that people are, we're going to lose him. He's going to go get sucked up by someone like Florida, who is going to be desperate for a coach like Curt Cignetti. But here's the thing. I don't think Curt Cignetti has interest in leaving for a couple of reasons. Number one, he just brought his family to Bloomington, but more importantly, his family is more an extended. A lot of these coaches that have been with him for 6 to 10 years moved their families to Bloomington. And they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And then Curt Cignetti is 63. I don't see him leaving. And then on the coup de grace for all of this is, why would he go to Florida to win where you're supposed to win? He's at Indiana where nobody has ever won, not like he's going to win this year, especially ever, save for the Rose Bowl season and the 1945 Big Ten championship. So in the 130 years, whatever it is, of Indiana football, no one has ever won like this, ever. He's doing what nobody else could do in the modern era. No one. That's what Curt Cignetti loves. He loves doing what people don't think he can do, or what they think can't be done, what hasn't been done. And he came in, he said what he was going to do, what it was going to be like, and guess what? He's done it so far, and it's been just like that. Woo! You got to love it. Man, we've got a great one coming up. Kyle Dillon-Sin will join us next here on the program. Looking forward to it. Thanks a lot for all of our peeps on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Lots of great comments coming in. Does Purdue pack it in with a loss? We'll talk more about these questions when we come back. They might as well pack it in and just start prepping for next year. I saw that their replacement at offensive coordinator, I'm sure he's a great guy, but most of his experience has been as a high school head coach, and one mostly in Indiana. But yeah, that's rough days ahead for Purdue. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I'm so glad that you're along for the ride, and we'll be back with it right after we hear from our good friends. In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hard Truth Distilling Company and Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. How's everybody doing on this, what is it, Wednesday? I wanted to make sure, man, almost had that wrong. Hope you're doing fine. Big Ten Media Day is underway in Chicago, and we'll be coming to you from there live tomorrow. And unfortunately, I didn't get the memo, but our buddy Dylan Sin is there today for the women's portion of that. I could not make that schedule work out for us to be up there for both days. And a lot going on this weekend, as a matter of fact. This weekend, there's also down at French Lick, the Corn Ferry Tour Championship at the Pete Dye course. So a lot going on there. Of course, all the college football that's happening. That we will be covering. Indiana looking for bowl eligibility as they look to go 6-0 on a visit to Evanston, Illinois, and to play on the pitch. They should call it the pitch by the lake. As Indiana's playing on a makeshift soccer field as Northwestern rebuilds Ryan Stadium. They're going to have a new stadium, not going to be big, but it's the entire thing is costing like $800 million. Whew. Man, luckily for Indiana, they don't need a new stadium. They need a new press box without question, which won't be cheap, but that's something that Indiana is going to have to deal with without question. Yesterday, Aiden Fisher of Indiana spoke with our guys at the Hoosier.com, and ahead of this week's game. And here's some of what Indiana's linebacker, he is the anchor of that defense that has been so solid, had to say about Northwestern.
They're a good team. They're physical. They like to get downhill in the run game. They got a good running back, a good O-line. They're figuring it out on offense, kind of their identity and who they want to be. So it's a game that we're expecting to be physical and, downhill.
When you face a team that's had kind of quarterback struggles, is it kind of a goal not to give them any momentum, to sort of give them any light at the end of the tunnel there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're both good players at the end of the day. They're both kind of settling in and kind of figuring out their role in this offense. So they're not to be taken lightly, even though, maybe their numbers aren't there, they're not getting a lot of the talk around the country, but it doesn't matter. Still great players. So we got to come in and prepare for them like the best quarterback in the country.
You guys created quite a stir last year at JMU with all those wins and being ranked in October. Kind of the same thing this year, 5-0 now. What do you guys go through trying to block out that noise on social media?
The biggest thing is, the opinions outside of this building. They don't make any decisions in the building. So, why let those opinions kind of seek into us? And, thinking about it as a complacency thing, you want to fight that as much as you can and stay hungry and humble as you keep going on with your season.
Mikhail, obviously someone that you had. Just what makes him as effective as he is off the edge, you feel like?
He's a game changer. The way he prepares, watches film, takes care of his body, just the little things he sees on the field really help me and kind of speed me up. But just watching him play, he's relentless. He's a really high motor guy, and he's very energetic when he gets out there.
I want to say that Signetti mentioned preseason that he's evolved so much from when he arrived, to now. Just from when you met him a few years ago, where have you maybe seen him evolve?
I would say in all facets of his game. The biggest one would be how he takes care of his body. Earlier in his career at JMU, he fought those injuries, but he's in this training room more than anybody I see. And then off-season wise, he's working harder than anybody I know. Just the little things, pass rush moves, how to be better in the run game, really working on his body. He's done a great job with that, and he really has come a long way and looks great right now.
How much is he a leader in that locker room?
He's huge, especially amongst the D-line. There are a lot of new faces, people that have been here, and a lot of people that came in, from JMU, Kent State, place all over. But he's someone that they can look to and kind of learn from, especially to an unfamiliar system that we brought. He was somebody that kind of brought the continuity from the staff down to the players.
You mentioned the fighting complacency. How much of the JMU players led that charge?
I think that's a big thing that we've heard over the last, 2 to 6 years for the guys that have been here for a while. But, it's huge. You can't let that settle in. You get complacent and you start to kind of fall off of this upward rise that you're having. So the biggest thing is just staying hungry and staying humble.
What strategy?
Staying hungry, staying humble. That is exactly what this football team has to do, because they're about to be finished with the first half of their schedule, but it is without question the easiest portion of the schedule. Every game that they will play after Northwestern will be more difficult than any game they have played prior to that. The schedule has been nice with the 3 non-con games, and you add UCLA into that mix and Northwestern. Then you have a Maryland, of course, but the 5 out of those 6 teams are really, really, really low-end teams. I'm not saying that as a negative to Indiana. I'm just pointing out that they have still not really been tested, although Maryland pushed them. They have not seen the athletes that they're going to see. They have not seen the size that they're going to see. Nebraska, they're going to be a beefy load. Michigan State. But that's just different things that are going to have to be attacked by Indiana and dealt with. And they've done a good job. The thing that Indiana has done the best, in my opinion, and that has been the most impressive to me all season, is the ability to consistently make the proper adjustments at halftime. They have been wizards in their halftime adjustments. So don't want to forget. Don't forget Cheryl Sizemore. For those of you that if you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, Cheryl Sizemore, reach out to her. Her 20 years of experience could be the difference in getting the home you want or not. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Please support our sponsors. That's how we get our content to you, man. But Indiana has done everything the right way, and their schedules allow them to do that. It is laid out for them to be able to get better each week. And then I'm serious. I know it sounds crazy, but you could be talking about
playoffs. Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
They've won plenty of them, man. They're about to win their 6th. And yes, playoffs. Crazy talk. But you know what? You have to have crazy goals. I know the team has that goal. If you think the team doesn't, if they're not, the team's thinking 12-0. And it's not a joke. It's not unbelievable. Yeah, even they have to play Ohio State in there. And no one, including me, thinks that that's a win for Indiana. Mainly because it's at Ohio State, but Ohio State is loaded with talent. It's going to be interesting to see Indiana play these teams that are better, but Nebraska has, man, their shine's fallen a little bit after that loss at home to Illinois. You know, they go to Purdue and look a little shaky. Washington has just been okay all year. They look like a first year. They look like a team under a first year coach. They've done okay. They've actually been okay. They lost a ton. They lost last year. Michigan State, coach in their second year, that regime there in their second year, so they're building. Michigan, same difference. Every team that Indiana plays from here out, their final 7 games, their coach, the team's coach is either new or in his second season, except for Ohio State. So Ohio State is the exception to virtually everything. But the 6 of the 7 teams, Northwestern's second year, Nebraska second year, Washington first year, Michigan State second year, Michigan first year, Purdue second year. These are all advantages to Indiana because Northwestern is struggling, Purdue is struggling, but we'll see. But I did find it kind of unique that Indiana was just, I'll check that again a little bit, but they were just a 13.5-point favorite in this game. I'm like, what the hell? Vegas is afraid to put Indiana in that category of, there was a stat last week that I set out on X. There were 5 teams that had a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Indiana was one of those 5. The other 4 were ranked in the top 10. Indiana was unranked. It was not, everyone looked at that as an outlier. Well, that was crap. They shouldn't have. They belonged in that group. But I forget what I was even saying with that. But the numbers are pointing that out. I think they continue. The fact that Indiana turned the ball over 4 times and was still able to hang 42 points on Maryland, I can't believe that. There's no doubt they would have probably most likely scored on 2 of the 4 drives, whether it was a touchdown or a touchdown and a field goal. But let's say you had 10 more points. That would have been 52 points with 2 turnovers. 52. Now, they didn't get it, but I'm just saying it's easy to see how that would have been the case. So how can these defenses going to challenge Indiana? Indiana's going to have to stay up and continue to give it different looks. That's another thing that I do like about Kurt Cignetti. He always talks about when someone asks about game plan or whatnot, and he'll say, hey, whether it's offensively or defensively, the game plan is changed every week depending upon the opponent. Well, he's promising to beat people, and that's what you have to do. Checking in on the Andy Moore Honda hotline to see hello, Robbie. How are you today, sir? See if there's any burning questions. Brian thinks that Ryan Walters is hanging by a thread at Purdue, which I agree. They fired Graham Harrell, their offensive coordinator, which I was a little surprised they did it this soon, but they have been awful. And I've got to give them credit for doing it, for making the call. It's not easy. Andrew asking Donovan McCulley to Bama? Very possible. It depends on what the reasoning for his lack of contribution. I kind of have an understanding of what it was, and I don't want to, but it's not something that I know in stone. So I hesitate to talk about it other than just to say there's nothing bad. But sometimes people need a new outlook. He was the top target a year ago. And this is now just maybe it, maybe in his mind, he thought that that's how it was going to be this year, but it was all out for competition. And a lot of new receivers came in. Elijah Surratt, Miles Cross, Miles Price, all of these guys who were fighting. You got Omar Cooper Jr. fighting for touches, man, fighting to be the guy. And as you can see with an offense that Indiana has that is so spread out, you have to fight to get you have to fight for the right to get the ball. Talked about the receiving earlier. Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper, Miles Price, Miles Cross, Keyshawn Williams, Zach Horton, Addison Colby. All of those guys that I just named, just those guys, that's just half of the people that have got a reception. They all have 62 yards or more in receiving, up to 378. But I dropped down to Justin Ellison. Now, he only has 2 receptions, and Sam West, the tight end, only has 1. So this is kind of skewed. And Anderson Kobe only has 2 receptions. So their average is really skewed. But the guys there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 guys that have 8 catches or more for Indiana. Every one of those guys are averaging double digits per catch. That's impressive. Miles Price is the only one who hasn't scored a touchdown in that group. Keyshawn Williams has 3. Omar Cooper Jr. with 3. They spread it out. I talked about this offense before the season started. And I noticed it. I went back and looked at Kurt Cignetti's offense from last year and saw that the running backs scored less than the tight end, his tight end at James Madison. His tight end had 6 touchdown catches last year. His top two running backs combined for 6 touchdowns. That ball is getting spread out, and that's what makes this a difficult offense to defend, and that's what's going to continue to make it difficult to defend as they go further. but that's good for them. Felton, yeah, I was talking about Felton earlier, about Maryland. Thank you very much for that. This week, Indiana taking on this Northwestern team that they've got quarterback issues. In Northwestern's last outing, I think he was like 5 for 27 for 59 yards. I'm like, whoa. You think Brian Haynes is not going to send the dogs after him? I mean, Billy Edwards Jr. of Maryland, he spent a lot of time on the Memorial Stadium turf. I cannot imagine that not being the case for Northwestern's quarterback. But we're going to take another break. If I didn't mention it already, Dylan Sin en route to Big Ten Media Day, so he's not able to be with us today. But we'll talk to Cal Neddenriep and Rick Bozich here in the next hour anyway. But we've got plenty to get to, and we'll do it on our return. I cannot thank you enough, as always, for being with us. We've got plenty more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, brought to you by our good friends at Cheryl Remax Realty and Cheryl Sizemore. And Who's Your Hanks, where tomorrow night you can find Inside Indiana Football, hosted by Don Fisher, and Kurt Signetti will be there. I don't know who the guest this week will be, but they generally have one of the assistants to come in. They have done that so far. The last week it was Pat Kuntz, the defensive line coach, and the week before that, Brian Haynes, the DC. But good time. It's more and more crowded there each week, but stop by Who's Your Hanks East and step in for the game or for the radio show tomorrow night. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to anymoreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Hard Truth Studios on this beautiful Wednesday. Appreciate you being with us. I was just jumping in to check the numbers for this weekend's game as Indiana will take on Northwestern, the Wildcats up at Evanston's Pitch by the Lake. Last I checked, the Hoosiers, let's see, here's Michigan State. They travel to Oregon, where they are a 24.5-point underdog. So that's, even though that game will, for Indiana, will be on the road, Indiana will be favored in that game without question. How about UNLV? They're now, they lose their starting quarterback. They win big, and this week they are at home and a 6.5-point favorite over Syracuse. Not that I'm giving all these up, but Purdue travels to Wisconsin, and Purdue's a 13.5-point underdog. A little surprising it's not more, but Wisconsin has just been milquetoast, man. You know, we talk about Ryan Walters, Luke Fickell. Wisconsin has just been fickle. It's just been, boy, I don't know if they've got something building under the covers there, that because I'm not covering Wisconsin as tightly and don't see it, because when you don't cover a program, you don't know them. That's why so many of the national pundits are still have this wait and see attitude about Indiana. They're not close enough. I'm close enough. That's why I've been telling you all year, this is it. Yeah, with Wisconsin, it's just been very Mendoza line of 500 looking, but they have the home game against the Boilers this weekend. That's my good friend Todd Leary calls a get right game, is what it should be. But it should have been that for Nebraska last week, and it was the struggle bus game for Nebraska. Curious to see how that plays out. Let's see. I'm looking for that. Here's Penn State as they will host UCLA. 27.5-point favorite. The over-under is 46.5. I don't know that Penn State can score that many points. I can see them holding UCLA down, but we'll see about that. But still trying to find that Indiana game. And it's just, there's Northwestern Indiana. Still 13.5. The over-under is 41. Here's the thing. It's Indiana's averaging more points than what the over-under is. Think about that for a second. Northwestern's offense is not going to score. They scored 5 points against Washington, meaning one of those was a safety, and they got a field goal. I just cannot see Northwestern holding Indiana to under 40 points, and I can't see Northwestern scoring. Maybe 3. It's hard to keep a football team off the scoreboard in today's game. I mean, these kickers are very, very good. Most of them can pop it from 50 yards. It doesn't take much to get possession and at least up close enough to get into field goal range. But Vegas is not bought into Indiana yet. I just that spread surprises me. I'm surprised it is. When you have a team that is averaging 40 plus points per game, playing a team that has woeful offense, that has great quarterback issues, I don't get it. But hey, there you go. There's an opportunity, and take advantage of it. Iowa, the Hawkeyes, as good as they may or may not be, they travel to play in the shoe this weekend, and they'll take 20.5 points with them. A nearly 3-touchdown underdog is Iowa. That's so that's what Las Vegas thinks of Ohio State. Nebraska? Now here is a game of the weekend, baby. Rutgers, 4-0 Rutgers travels to Lincoln. And that sold out 80,000 plus seat stadium of the Cornhuskers, 7.5 point favorite that Nebraska is in this game. That's going to be an interesting game. Rutgers has been a great surprise along with Illinois. Rutgers has kind of quietly been going along their business at 4-0. We'll see if that continues for them. And then how about James Madison? Are you kidding me? They lose what they lost, which is virtually the heart and soul of their program. And Coach Cignetti, his staff, and great players like Elijah Surratt, Aiden Fisher, et al., and those players. But yet they still have been unbelievable this season. They hung 70 on North Carolina, who beat Minnesota at Minnesota. They put 50 up last week, I think. They travel to Louisiana Monroe this week where they're a 16.5 point favorite. That's a great shock this year and a success story. Congratulations to the Dukies. But yeah, that's huge. Number 11 USC travels. I don't know if they're going by boat, but they travel to Minnesota, take on BJ Fleck and them Gordon Gophers. USC an 8.5 point favorite. Minnesota coming off of a heartbreaking loss in the Big House to Michigan, where the Big Ten admitted there was an officiating mistake. Hey, who calls offsides on a kickoff? They recover an onside kick with about a minute and a half to go, but are called for offsides, a penalty that was wrong, and that's so wrong that the Big Ten changes how officials line up for onside kicks, and but then Michigan moves up 2 spots in the poll. I don't get it. They the week before that they got lucky by getting a 63-yard run toward the later stages of the game to be able to pull out a win over USC. And they just keep TV wants Michigan. Believe me, but it doesn't matter what the AP poll says. And luckily, by the time the first college football poll comes out, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if that is before or after Indiana plays Nebraska. Let's see. When is the first college football poll? Well, it's not telling me. That's the AP. But it usually comes out in like week 7 or something like that. But it's going to be interesting where Indiana is first. They're going to be in there. If it's after Nebraska, it'll be more impressive for Indiana. That will give them a 7-0 start with a win over a solid Nebraska team, but their numbers will also be very substantial. I think that they're when that first poll comes out, I think they're in the top 15. That's all you need. All you need is because they then have a game against Washington. They'll then have a game on the road at Michigan State. They'll then have a home game against Michigan, which that is the game Indiana has to win. Now, of course, they have to win the games before that, but they have to win the Michigan game. I was just thinking about what I was getting ready to say right before I said it and how crazy that it sounds. But if Indiana fails to beat Michigan, they're probably heading for a 10-2 season. Oh, well, how terrible that would be. Indiana's never had double-digit wins in football, people. But I was just thinking how wild that I was getting ready to say, if they can't pull that win out, well, they're going to end up 10-2. Oh, boo-hoo. Well, it is kind of it would be a boo-hoo, because this is a moment, and it could be more valuable to this program than people realize by going 11-1, by doing these crazy things that I think that can happen, because what the immediate impact of recruiting, and it matters. It matters greatly. And as a matter of fact, 2025 defensive back Byron Baldwin, who's committed to Indiana, but now has a lot of suitors. He transferred from Calvert Hall College High School in Towson, Maryland, to St. Francis Academy for his senior year. He currently ranks as the number 9 prospect in the state of Maryland. He's the number 2 cornerback in the 2025 cycle. Baldwin has a strong start in the senior campaign. He could see a move up into the Rivals 250 in the future, but a lot of talk about him. His recruiting team has definitely picked up. He recently had an official visit to see Prime Time in Colorado. He was there during that weekend of September 20th, in which he saw Colorado win that great game with that unbelievable comeback. The Buffaloes offered him in early September. He has also received offers from Penn State, Virginia Tech, and Missouri, all within the past week or so. And Penn State, of course, Missouri, both ranked teams. Virginia Tech, good luck. I know that he lives relatively close there, but you got no shot, people. He also received an offer from UCLA. The beach is nice, but that's about all you got going there. Baldwin has well over 20 offers in total right now. He's been in communication with Alabama for the past couple of months. Now that is a different story. Kane Womack coming into the fold there. But as of right now, he's still committed to Indiana. Does that stay? We'll see. That's like Juju Lewis. He's committed to USC. Does that stick? We'll see how that goes. But right now, as of now, they still have him. He's a 4-star. Hopefully it sticks. But Indiana is helping its own cause by doing what they're doing, by continuing to win, continuing to play well, continuing to garner more and more attention. Head coach Kurt Signetti and defensive safeties Ola Adams and the rest of the staff did a great job of landing his commitment early. So, I don't understand if you're going to commit, don't commit if you're not committed. I'm kind of tired of seeing committed players visit other places, and I don't care. I'm not the Juju Lewis thing. I'm like, dude, if you're going to visit other places, decommit. You can say, hey, I'm not saying I'm not going to go there, but how can you be committed, quote unquote, committed, if you are taking visits to other places? And again, I likened it before to, it's like dating somebody and say, hey, yeah, we're dating, but I'm going to go out with these other people too. I bet that doesn't, in what world does that go over well? None that I've ever lived in, I can tell you. So there is that. Let's see. I wanted to get a quick quote in here from Zach Horton, Indiana's tight end, who has also been a big part of this season for the Hoosiers, before we go to break. And let's see if we can get one quick clip in from him. Nope. You know what? I'll wait till we come back. We've got lots more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming up for you here from the Hard Truth Studios on this Wednesday. Kyle Neddenriep will join us. Rick Bozich as well in the next hour. Looking forward to it. And plenty to talk about. Wyoming becomes the third school to refuse to play San Jose State in volleyball. I'm going to talk about that because of a specific player that they have. But back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. The Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria in Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rebesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hard Truth Distilling Company and Andy Moore Honda Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Make sure you stop by the Hard Truth location, Distilling Company headquarters down in beautiful Brown County in Nashville. One of the most beautiful places in the state, without question. That area, of course, known for its this time of year, baby, the fall in Brown County. Man. But a good place to be. Stop by there in Nashville at Hard Truth, the full-service restaurant. They've got tours and everything else. But great place to go. And then, of course, you can stop and get yourself some Hard Truth product. Looking forward to that. And appreciate you being back with us here on this Wednesday. Hopefully joined by Kyle Neddenriep coming up. And looking forward to talking about some high school sports, but Kyle not able to be with us yet, and hopefully we can get him on today, but didn't hear from him, so would be a little surprising. But deep into the high school season, they're like, I can't remember if we're in week 5 of the college season, although there was week 0, so kind of in week 6. we'll find out as Kyle jumps on. But hey, Kyle, how you doing, brother?
Hey, good, Jim. I think my camera's not working, but I'm here.
That's okay. People prefer when mine's not, so they don't have to look at me. So I'm used to it. I was just talking about, I can't remember. We're in week 5 of the college football season, although it's week 6 if you count 0. But because high school's a little bit ahead of us. And what week are we in high school? Is it week 6, week 7?
7, yeah, going into 7.
Wow, that's nuts. They play what, 10 regular season games now?
9. Well, you play 9, but you automatically get 10 with the playoff game. So I mean, essentially, yeah, it's a 10-game season, but 9 regular and then 1 guaranteed sectional game.
Looking forward to that. And there's been some surprises this year. A few upsets here and there. But what's been the biggest at this stage of we're further than halfway. We're 2/3 of the way through the season. What's been the biggest surprise so far for you this year?
I mean, probably that, and maybe this is not a huge surprise, but, the fact that there's really no dominant 6A team has really stepped forward as far as Brownsburg's ranked number 1 this week. I think they're very solid number 1. No disrespect. I mean, they beat the number 1 team, Westfield, on Saturday, 17-13. And I covered that game, and they're defensively especially, and then they got a big special teams kickoff return by Brandon Sharp and turned that game around. But it wasn't like they, smoked Westfield or, ran all over them by any means. So Westfield's quarterback got knocked out right before the start of the 4th quarter and wasn't able to finish. So you factor that in as well. But, if you look down Westfield only fell. They're tied for 3rd this week in the state poll. Didn't fall that far. Warren Central's ranked number 2. They're 6-0. They have a huge test against Lawrence North on Friday, who's also 6-0 and ranked number 6. So that'll be a big one. And then Center Grove is 5th, and they play Cathedral, which is 7th. But kind of the point is, I don't know, from 1 to probably, 1 to even 8, HSE is 8, and they took Westfield to overtime just last week. So, you could go down the list and probably, 1 to 8, I think, and maybe even beyond that. But I would definitely say 1 to 8 are very close to each other on a given night. So that'll be fun, I think. And 6A, of course, they'll play the next 3 weeks, then get a week off, and then come back and play in the first round of the tournament. But there's just a lot of teams that I think are capable of winning. So it's kind of like, are you healthy? Are you healthy at your key spots? Are you what's your tournament draw look like? All those sorts of things. But I'm curious to see Warren and Lawrence North this week. Lawrence North, I actually covered 2 games Saturday because of the weather situations, but Lawrence North beat Ben Davis and just beat him like a drum. It was 58-28, and that was really impressive showing. Their receivers, including Davion Chandler, who's going to IU, he's very good. It'd be fun to see how that game turns out. Warren's defense against Ellen's offense will be one of the most fun matchups of the season, I think.
I'm looking forward to that as getting closer and closer to the high school playoffs. We had Donovan McCulley, who was a very well-known quarterback, actually, at Lawrence North, and went to IU as a wide receiver. Last year, their top receiver with the most yardage catches and all of that. But now he is entered the transfer portal as of yesterday. He's left the team with the intention of entering the portal to transfer and maintain his eligibility for his senior year. It just with the new regime, it just didn't work out, Kyle, because there are, I think I counted 8 guys that have 8 or more catches on this Indiana team. Omar Cooper being one of the junior being one of those guys, but he just seemed to lose his way with this new regime, I guess.
Yeah, and that happens. I mean, and I'm surprised it happened with him considering his talent level and his what he's capable of doing. And like you mentioned there, he's definitely a guy that he was a quarterback in high school, and I always thought he'd be a really good quarterback. He had kind of a college game to him where he could run. He could, he threw a really good deep ball. The question was just how quickly could he acclimate to a college system as a quarterback, and pretty quickly they moved him to receiver, which makes great sense. He's 6'5" and he's super athletic, and but yeah, for whatever reason, and sometimes that happens in a coaching change, and certainly he wants to maximize his talent as much as possible and be able to play somewhere. But yeah, it's still surprising though. I mean, I didn't see that coming. I'm not following IU day to day, that closely necessarily, but knew Omar Cooper is, ironically, those two teamed up on so many big plays over the years. McCulley as quarterback and Cooper as a receiver for those Lawrence North teams. They were a lot of fun to watch together. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens and where he ends up going. But yeah, kind of a surprise to hear that news yesterday that he was planning on transferring.
Yeah, and so Indiana will move on. Where he ends up, no one knows. But good luck to him as he has one more year left. Does not have a COVID year because he came in right after COVID hit. So he had to. This is a move he had to make now. He does not have an additional season. So,
and if you remember, he did enter the portal at one point.
Yes,
before, and I know. UCLA, I believe, had offered him at that time. I'm not saying that's where he's going, but that is something that happened, already in his college career. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure he'll have some opportunities elsewhere, obviously. And, I am surprised. Only a couple of catches this year. And as I look at the stats here, Omar Cooper's second on the team. And that's not surprising to me either. I expect both of them to be up there. But yeah, for whatever reason, best of luck to him. I hope it works out for him.
Absolutely. And also, let's see. Oh yeah, Jason Simmons, the new offensive coordinator at Purdue, very familiar with the state of Indiana, of course. And it's kind of like Tom Allen. He's a former Indiana head coach, although Jason Simmons has a more extensive head coaching high school resume at a couple of different Indiana schools before he moved on to college, but getting an opportunity.
Yeah, man, Jason's, got to know him really well, when he was coaching at Ben Davis and then went to Miami of Ohio last year where he was running backs coach and then got on staff there at Purdue. But yeah, he's a real good guy, good person. It does it the right way. He coached his way up. He was at Hamilton Heights. He was, at Noblesville as a head coach, and he was assistant at a lot of these places too. He's assistant at Ben Davis, assistant at Hamilton Heights and Noblesville at different times. And, but yeah, he's Roncalli graduate, I believe 94 roughly. But yeah, so he's got really deep connections to Indiana and has kind of worked his way up. Kind of a cool story that he got a chance to get on a college staff at that point in his career. And I know he's got, I think 4 kids, so a guy doing a little later in life, getting into college, but, has made his way up pretty quick. I think he's earned the trust of a lot of, people along the way and cool to see him get this opportunity. It's not ideal, I would say, necessarily from a standpoint of where Purdue's going as a team right now. Did not look great on Saturday, or I heard anyway. I didn't get a chance to see it, but
they didn't.
I guess you could look at the score and probably see that. But
although I will say this, it was a little shocking because they were playing Nebraska, who I thought would just wipe the field with them, and I think it was a 0-0 halftime tie, and then Purdue was leading 3-0 before Nebraska kind of flexed a little bit. But they're hard to figure out. But things not going well in West Lafayette right now, and Brian Walters was basically forced to make that move because there's a lot of heat on him.
Yeah, definitely. And, normally when that stuff start happening, that's not a great sign, because, what's usually comes next. But they have done a great job of recruiting the state, and we'll see how they, how that – and Deron Tibbs, I know, I kind of just looking over some of the the stats from Saturday, but Tibbs had a really good game. And, of course, he's a Cathedral grad, and I thought he would go in there and make an impact. And he's a big receiver who I think can – he wasn't a speed burner, and that's maybe what kept him from getting the bigger offers. But, man, he was tough cover in high school. So, but, yeah, so, I think they've done a pretty good job under Walters of recruiting the state, making a good impact on the high school coaches, and whereas some staffs have not at Purdue, going back further, than Brom, but yeah, so I think they're doing a good job then, of recruiting the state. I just, I always, having covered a lot of those kids at any of these state schools, hope for their success, from an individual standpoint, but yeah, it'll be, I wish the best for Jason. Definitely a guy that I got to know really well over the years, and neat to see him get that opportunity.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the Big Ten basketball media days are going on right now in Chicago. I'll be up there tomorrow for the men's side. All 18 coaches speaking tomorrow, in addition to players. But Braden Smith was the only unanimous selection to the preseason All Big Ten list. Indiana had Oumar Ballo make the first team on that. But Braden Smith, man, I just wonder what it's going to be like for him and those guards this year without Mount Edie in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big question. I think everybody, everybody's kind of wondering how they look, and can Trey Kaufman sort of play that bigger role of, maybe not being Edie necessarily. He's not, as big as Edie by any means, but I liked how he progressed last year. I think he's got a chance to be a good player for him. And then how did the other guys come along? The Miles Colvin, some of those guys who came in last year and had an impact. Can he just become a better, more consistent player? So I think Braden and Fletcher will definitely, you kind of know what you're going to get with them. They both, I thought, improved last year, but some of the other guys and how that looks, obviously without Edie, like you said, it's just going to be, that sort of a situation for them. But yeah, it'd be fun. I can't lie. I'm not locked into basketball yet.
I hear you.
Other than the recruiting stuff, there's a lot of recruiting stuff going on, but yeah, at least from a college basketball standpoint, I don't think I'm ready for that just yet.
Yeah, me either. I mean, football's been a blast. And I think it's going to stay that way. Well, I just have to be honest. It's a hell of a lot more fun covering a winner, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's just makes all the difference in the world. But Kyle, can't thank you enough as always, brother. And make sure you're giving Kyle a follow and be a subscriber to the Indy Star. Keep up with all the coverage. If you want to know what's going on in the state of Indiana and the high schools, Kyle's got it. Appreciate you, brother.
You bet. And you also know it's still baseball season. The Tigers are trying to knock the Astros out of the playoffs.
You know what? I forgot to bring that up. I'm not used to that. Rick Bozich joins me next, so I'm not used to talking about playoff baseball, and I know I think he can hear me as in the green room. But
I'm not either. So
he's a Sox fan. White Sox. And so
I know. That's a rough go. It's been a rough go for me too, but I'm going to enjoy this. And, the fact that they made it is just fun for me. So
absolutely. Looking forward to it. Well, good luck to them. Go Tigers.
Exactly. Thanks, Jim.
Kyle Neddenriep, thank you, sir. We've got more coming up. The man, Rick Bozich, joins us next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back with all of that and more right after this. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indiehomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indiehomepros.com. In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hard Truth Distilling Company and Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday, and I'm glad to have you, and I'm happier to have Rick Bozich, as usual. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm fine. What are you going to do for the baseball postseason?
I'm going to enjoy good baseball because I didn't see any all summer. So I watched both games of the doubleheader between Atlanta and the Mets on Monday, and I think I watched parts of 3 games yesterday. So I'll watch all 4 today because they're all elimination games.
Who do you think is going to win the World Series this year?
Wow. You know, in the new format in baseball, it's really hard to predict. It used to be a lot easier because, well, one, there weren't as many teams, but baseball's so unpredictable with pitchers getting hot and stuff. Last year, nobody would have picked the Diamondbacks to get to the World Series. You just had Kyle on. I don't think they can do it because they don't have enough pitching, but the Tigers have actually been the best team in the American League the last 2 months. But I'm going to have to go with the Yankees, Judge and Soto and Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon. The only thing they don't really have is a great bullpen. In the National League, the Dodgers pitching is too screwed up, so I'm not going to pick them. I'm going to actually pick the Padres. I think they have been playing good ball the last 2 months. They got great starting pitching. They got a really good bullpen that they improved at the trading deadline. And with Tatis heating up and Machado and Jackson Merrill, possible NL Rookie of the Year, they've got the best lineup. So give me Padres, Yankees.
Padres, wow. Man, how long we got to go back for the Padres? Tony Gwynn?
Yeah, they played the Yankees in that one stretch when the Yankees won the World Series 3 years in a row. I think the first one when 98 was against the Padres. And the Padres also played in the 84 World Series. They lost to the Tigers because I covered that one. So they've never won it. They're one of the 4 or 5 teams that have never won the World Series. But they spend money. I mean, they've got, when you look at their pitching staff, they got Yu Darvish and Dylan Cease and Joe Musgrove, and they got some dudes, man.
Absolutely. Big Ten basketball media days going on right now today. The women, tomorrow, the men's will be up there for that. All 18 teams in one day. I don't know how they, there's a lot. It's almost impossible to cover that. I mean, in football, it's not as bad because you're only covering 9 of those teams or 8 of those teams. Actually, well, in basketball, Indiana, they everybody plays everybody. So there's no way to get to all of that, but a lot will be going on up there tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that. Oumar Ballo selected all Big Ten preseason by the median coaches, and Braden Smith, the only unanimous decision, which I guess that's deserved. He is the heir apparent in the league at the moment based on past performance. But I just wonder what life is going to be like for those guys without the big man that has pretty much protected them for the last couple of years.
That's a great question. There really isn't. I mean, there's a couple other guys you could consider to be Big Ten Player of the Year, but I get why Smith got the nod. He had a great year last year. He seems to be a more consistent and dependable player than Fletcher Lawyer. But you're right. Without Zach Edey doing all the things he's done for the last 2+ seasons, I mean, back-to-back Player of the Year in college basketball, it's going to be a different world. I don't know. Are they going with first or Kaufman Wren at center? How are they going to do this year?
I would imagine it's Trey Kaufman Wren, but he's not a center. He's not even close to a center.
And he's not Edey.
No. Oumar Ballo will put his ass into the 4th row.
Right.
Of course, he'll put a lot of people in the 4th row, but I'm like, you're not going to play Trey Kaufman Wren up against Oumar Ballo. They're going to have to attack it with either speed or something, I guess. I don't know how you do that.
I was surprised that Ballo was IU's pick, and I think in many ways that Miles Rice, he's my pick as their best player.
He's one of the players that will be in Chicago tomorrow.
Miles Rice. He's a great talker, and he had a really good year last year at Washington State. Wasn't he freshman of the year in the Pac-12? And the ball will be in his hands. And if Indiana's really going to play this different style that Mike Woodson has promised, he'll be front and center with it. But Ballo is the more proven player, and he's the older player. But Miles Rice is my pick to be Indiana's best player, and it's interesting. I'm a voter in the AP College Basketball poll, and the preseason votes are due on Friday, and I'm trying to figure out in my mind how many Big Ten teams should be in my top 25, and I currently have 4.
And that's I'm glad you brought that up because, all right, so going into this first poll in this era, in the past, I get it. It was kind of easy. A lot of carryover. Well, now that carryover it's not gone, but it is really difficult. I mean, you have to actually study every one or all of those beyond those teams because
you do.
I know how much time it takes when I do the power right now, the weekly power index for the Big Ten football. 18 damn teams. That takes some time because each week it's a new thing, and I'm like, wow, it's like doing a top 25. So yeah, the early on, I think there's a lot of guessing.
Sure, because
there's nothing else that you can do. There's some names, but like in the Big Ten, I agree. I don't know what I don't know. That's the problem. I think UCLA is going to be a good program. Illinois, I'm going on history. Brad Underwood has done a good job of putting together something good. So I'm thinking maybe Michigan State's kind of the same deal. Purdue has all their starters returning, but there's no way that I don't see Indiana as being the favorite because of the talent that they have had, that they went out and secured, and that they have returning starters, returning players. In addition to what they have to be the favorite in my mind because I don't know anyone else that's standing out.
Yeah, I mean, the 4 teams that I've settled on, and I haven't really finalized my order yet. I changed them last night. Are Indiana, Purdue, UCLA, and Illinois. I considered Michigan State. I didn't include them, but I think those are the 4 best teams. But you're exactly right. I mean, fortunately, I downloaded Blue Ribbon Magazine, and they've got a pretty exhaustive look at who's actually on the roster, who they lost, who they got out of the portal, and they've ranked the teams. That kind of gives you a foundation. I've looked at Bart Torvik. He does it strictly on statistics. He's already got the teams ranked for this season, and I've looked at a couple of other ones. But it's guesswork at this point. But once again, going back to 2000, it doesn't really look like the Big Ten has a team that can win the national championship. I'm not seeing any Big Ten teams showing up in the preseason top 10 in most of the ratings I've looked at.
And I agree. And here's why. And I have talked about this numerous times. Last year, I was answering someone's question on a comment on YouTube, on the YouTube broadcast. And I was explaining why Purdue has virtually zero chance of winning the national championship. It had nothing to do with anything other than one thing. They did not have the elite talent to win a national championship.
Right.
The last 6 years, I have gone back and I've checked the rosters as far back as those. Every team that has won a national title in the last 6 seasons had at least 4 NBA draft picks on the roster. That doesn't mean they had 4 come out at the same time. I think UConn had 2 off of last year's team that were there, but they also had 2 that were there. Those 2 guys were on the year before's where they had 2. So they had 4 total on the rosters. Every one of those teams, you go back, had 3 to 4 NBA draft picks on their rosters. And if you didn't win. That's just how it was. And Purdue had 1. And I'm like, it ain't happening. You have to have elite talent. You look at Indiana, they've got 2 guys that are projected NBA draft picks. But are there 2 more that are future NBA draft picks? And that is the telltale sign to me of an elite team. And that's what you have to be an elite team.
Well, I mean, there should be. I'd say Rice and Mbako are the NBA guys. Is that right or not? Yeah.
Or is it Carlisle?
Well,
Carlisle, I believe. I think it's
Carlisle.
Carlisle.
Okay. Ballo has an outside chance, I guess, to make the league at some point. Renew, probably not, unless he really expands his game and becomes more of a shooter. He's too small to be a power player. And the wild card guy is Tucker. He comes in kind of under the radar this year. In past seasons, when Indiana had a freshman who was that highly acclaimed, everybody was thinking he'd play right off the bat. Tucker, seems to have a chance to actually have a break-in period, but he's a top 25 recruit, so you got to figure he has NBA ability. But you're right. I mean, I remember back in the 80s, Marty Blake, who used to do NBA scouting, would say, he would pick teams for the Final Four and pick teams to win the national championship, and said you usually had to have at least 2 and probably 3 guys who would be drafted by the NBA to be a team to win the national championship. And that kind of waned for a few years, but I think it's back in vogue. And Purdue had 1, Edey. That's it. There's no other NBA players on that team. The year before, 2 years before, whenever they had, was it Hunter? Was that his name? Ivy.
Yeah. That was like back in 16 though, wasn't it?
No, he's only been gone like 3 years, hadn't he?
Okay, I don't know.
The point guard from South, whose mom's the coach at Notre Dame.
Yeah,
he played there like.
Oh, I was thinking Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was 2016, but
I don't think so. I think he was on that team that got upset by the team that upset Kentucky.
Oh, St. Peter's.
Yeah. That would have been 2022.
Oh, let's see. We can find out. He's from South Bend. Yeah.
I think
so.
I think Jaden Ivey's only been in the NBA. This will be his 3rd year, but we'll see. I'll look it up right now.
Yeah. So he was selected 5th overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft. Yeah. There you go.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, it's a lot sooner than I thought, than I remembered. But yeah, that's the long and the short of it. And now UCLA, I think that they've got something this year. Mick Cronin UCLA has not been great with NIL, I don't think, overall as a school. I think that's part of the reason why they lost Chip Kelly in the football program. But now they're coming around, I believe, and it looks like Mick Cronin's kind of put something back together again. It hasn't been, too far removed from them being one of the top teams in the country when they had Jaime Jaquez Jr. in that group. I expect them to be a force. UCLA comes to Bloomington this year. That's just going to be a cool game, period. UCLA at Assembly Hall.
The reason I wouldn't go with UCLA is I think the travel is going to be backbreaking for them. I really do. I look at their schedule. They got to go. Let's see. They go to Nebraska in January. Then they make a trip to go to Maryland and Rutgers in January. Then they have 2 West Coast games against rivals. Then they have a trip in February. They play Illinois and Indiana back-to-back. Good luck with that. And then they've got another trip later in the year where they go to Purdue and Northwestern. So they're doing it right where they're keeping them, once they're in the Midwest, they stay for 2 games. But I just think that's the travel part's going to be harder on them, I think, than it is going to be in the teams from the East Coast. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think this travel thing is getting overblown, to be honest with you. Nowadays, we're so used to it as a society. You get on a plane and you ride for a couple hours, and
except what if you're a West Coast team and they give you a noon tip, and that's 9 o'clock on your body time that you're used to? I think that's going to be a factor.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I wonder if they'll try to avoid that as much as possible. But that's part of the reason why teams have to arrive at least a day early in the Big Ten into the cities in which they're playing. So,
right.
But the Big Ten is not just like in football. Although there are some surprising teams, they're just not. There's no one as of right now at the top that's at the top. Indiana would be the one you would maybe think of, but I don't know what they're going to be like on a national stage yet until we see them play in the Bahamas, when they will take on some talent, so to speak. I had someone comment the other day that other than the Battle for Atlantis, Indiana plays South Carolina, and that's it. I'm like, well, they're going to play some teams in Atlantis. They have an opportunity to play several, I think Gonzaga and programs like that.
Well, I mean, if they beat Louisville, they would likely play Gonzaga, and then after that, the next game would be against Arizona or Oklahoma or another. There's another decent team out there. So the key for them is they got to beat Louisville. That gets them the game against Gonzaga. If they don't beat Louisville, they play West Virginia the next game, and West Virginia was really bad last year. I doubt if they'll be much better this season. So they'll get competition in the Bahamas. But yeah, they need to win that game against South Carolina, and they need to come back from the Bahamas with at least 2 wins there to have a solid non-conference resume to go along with whatever they do in the Big Ten.
Speaking of the Bahamas and Louisville, Indiana and Louisville, that is a pretty important matchup for Indiana. You're taking on a Louisville team that has, and count them people, 13 new players. You know how many players, scholarship players you have on a basketball roster? 13. Yeah. So that's a game that Indiana almost has to win.
Yeah, I mean,
from an optic standpoint.
From a perception standpoint, for sure. If you lose to a team that's won 12 total games the last 2 seasons and has a whole new team, that'll take your credibility will take a hit. And Louisville's going to use it, I'm sure, to as a signature game to say, hey, this team is back. This team's heading in the right direction. This team's, making a quick turnaround here. Louisville has its public I don't know whether you would call it Hoosier Hysteria or Big Blue Madness or whatever they call it, Louisville Live, Friday night, and they brought it for the first time downtown to the arena as they're trying to get, build up interest again in this basketball team and get people to come back to the games.
Absolutely. And with the football program playing the way they are, that's going to put a little pressure on the basketball program, because basketball is a much easier fix than football. That's just numbers. You've got 5 guys that play at a time and 13 total. Where in football, you've got 100-something, 85 scholarship players. And I saw an article the other day that said, it usually takes 3 years for a coach to really get his system implemented and this and that. And
unless you're Kurt Signetti,
it's taken 3 minutes. And that's which was perfect. But I think that will help IU basketball, because that's going to have everybody energized, and winning is contagious, and it carries over, I think. So we'll see what that benefit is. But Indiana basketball definitely has a bullseye on it, and more specifically, Mike Woodson this season. Indiana has to perform, I think, with the money that is pretty well known as that has been spent and the talent that has been brought in. It's time to roll the dice or get off the pot.
Yeah, I mean, after not making the tournament last year, I think that left a lot of people questioning the direction of the program and whether it was achieving the kind of things it should achieve. This is year 4. Tom Crean, with a total disaster in year 4, knocked off number 1 Kentucky and went to the Sweet 16. He did. Year 4, Mike Davis had gone to a Final Four in multiple NCAA tournaments. Sampson went to the tournament both years, and I know Woody went his first 2 years, but
all this Archie, and all of that though was in the no transfer.
No NIL. I know
NIL.
Archie did nothing. The only exception was Archie, who did nothing.
Who?
But yeah, I mean,
who was that?
Archie.
Who are you talking? I don't know. Oh, Little Rhodey.
Little Rhodey's on the hot seat in Rhodeyville in the rodeo.
Are you kidding me? Are you shocked? I mean, wasn't it a matter of time? It's just.
And the proud thing that I am of our first stop at the University of Dayton was we didn't stop. Sometimes you break through and you make the tournament, and then they don't hear from you for a couple years. Sometimes you break through and you continue to go. And I think that is the thing I was most proud of at Dayton, was the consistency that we had, and tremendous support, unbelievable people, great friends. And then I moved to a second spot and had a press conference. I was popular. Only at the beginning. But with company.
Because you sucked. That was just a matter of time. I'm like, I would have thought people would have learned their lesson, but nope, let's just keep giving him money. That dude is worth over, $40 million, and is horrible at his job. God bless him. What a great country that we live in. But
well, back to the Hoosiers. Yeah, this is a year for them to make some noise. You got upperclassmen, you got depth, you got talent, you got a Big Ten that doesn't have a dominant team. There's no reason that Indiana shouldn't be a legitimate contender to win the Big Ten title this year. Right?
Absolutely. They have it. They have it all. They have the support. They have the players, and everything should be in place. So we'll certainly find out. But we're a little bit ways from that. Big Ten Media Day tomorrow. Like I said, we'll be there. We've got more coming up. The great Rick Bozich is with us. We'll talk some football when we come back to the Hard Truth Studios. Right after this. From all of our great, lovely sponsors, make sure you're supporting each and every one of them. Without them, we can't do this.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMoreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hard Truth Distilling Company and Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday, joined by the great Rick Bozich. And football has been fun this year, Rick, for most of the area teams, especially for you. You live in the Bermuda Triangle of fun this season, as Indiana is shocking the world, Louisville having a typical season, and Kentucky with the biggest upset probably of the college football season. I could not believe they went to Oxford, and they left town with my daughter in tears as she is in her senior season down in her senior year at Ole Miss. I was texting with her after the game. She goes, I went back to my room and cried. And I'm like, I get it. Big shock there. Big win. Mark Stoops been under a lot of heat, and he gets his biggest win ever.
Yeah. I covered Kentucky's second game of the year. That was South Carolina at home, and they got blown out. Looked terrible on offense, struggled on defense, and they look like a team that might be heading for a 6-6 season. Well, they regrouped quickly, gave Georgia all they wanted at home in a defensive struggle, then bounced back and put it on Ohio University at home and then they beat Ole Miss on the road. Their defense, Kentucky has a defense to play with anybody. And their next 3 games, they're off this week. They should win the next 3. They have Vandy at home, at Florida, which is struggling, and then Auburn at home, and Auburn's terrible. So we're talking about a Kentucky team that should get up to 6-2 and jump in the rankings. And down the stretch, it's tough. They still have to go to Tennessee and Texas, two teams that are probably going to be in the playoff. But Kentucky's going to be a factor at the end of the year. Got a really good defense. Talk about pros. They've got 2 or 3 pros, maybe 4 pros on their defense.
That makes the difference. And of course, Louisville they're in the ACC. The ACC is just weak, so that's a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah,
but,
Louisville's got a key game this weekend. They got a lot of teams after they play at Notre Dame the following week. They usually, are a little bit flat. I've seen it happen. And they got to come home and play an SMU team, which we don't really know much about them, but SMU's 4-1. They've scored over 100 points the last 2 games against TCU and Florida State, which, TCU was in the national championship game 2 years ago. And Florida State was supposed to win the ACC this year. They've underachieved, but still to score that many points against them, this will be a tough game for Louisville this weekend. This game, I think, will decide whether Louisville has a chance to contend in the ACC or not, because SMU, believe it or not, is in the ACC now.
Doug pointing out, not to change subject, Brian Hoeing from Batesville, Indiana, pitched at Louisville, comes out of the bullpen for the Padres. You also have Schwarber in his 5th straight Major League Baseball playoff appearance, and Tim Herron making his first with the Guardians of Cleveland.
Yeah.
So, hopefully that goes well. Back to Indiana takes on Northwestern this weekend. They're looking at bowl eligibility, Rick, and
amazing.
I'm not going to tell you. Hey, well, no, it's not. What about has there been anybody that all year long that has told you this is what's going to happen?
You've been up there. Zach Osterman picked them to go 9-3, and my friend Griffin Gonzalez told me before the season they'd be really good.
Yeah, I
was a skeptic.
Well, everybody was, and I get it. There was just something about when you're around it, and when you're around these coaches, it wasn't just one thing; it was so much, and you could see. But again, the schedule has been laid out without absolute perfection. But this team could probably start 8-0, and then they'll have a game at Michigan State, which of course it'll be a tough game. But I think they win that game to go 9-0, and that will happen 3 days prior to the first college football poll coming out. If Indiana is 9-0 when that comes out, and I know that sounds nuts, and everything's an if, and everything relies on them staying healthy.
Right.
Granted, but if they are 9-0 when that comes out, I know they'll be in the top 12 without question.
Yeah, you got to be. I think you got to be at that point. But yeah, I was there Saturday. I saw you there. And the most impressive thing about that game, which I'm sure a lot of other people have said, and there's no NCAA record book to check it out or whatever, but I don't remember a team committing 4 turnovers and not creating any turnovers and winning the game by 2 touchdowns. That's hard to do. I mean, if they had played a clean game, they would have beat Maryland by 28 or 35 points.
They would have put 50 points on the board.
Yeah. And it's inevitable you're going to make turnovers, but 4 in one game after not making any in the first 4 games was strange. But in the past, when we watched IU football, if there was a game where they made 4 turnovers and didn't get any, they would have lost by 3 touchdowns, right? They would have gone straight in the tank. And this team didn't do that. And that's a credit to the players, and it's a credit, obviously, to the coaching staff that they are coached to forget about the turnover and move forward. And that's how they play. And, even yesterday when you saw Donovan McCulley leaves the team, I know that some people were concerned about that, but that's like
nothing.
He's a me guy, not a we guy. And he probably felt like he wasn't getting enough targeting and he wasn't playing enough. And I get that. I mean, he's got aspirations to make it to the next level, but it's putting your own personal agenda ahead of to walk away from an IU team that's 5-0 and ranked and on its way to, one of the best seasons in IU history. That says all you need to hear.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And that is not what the team needs, because the team is being successful as a group. That's one of the things to me that I've talked about that makes this team so dangerous. Offensively, after when McCulley found out he was leaving yesterday, I started looking up all the stats. They have 8 guys, or I think, that have 8 receptions or more.
Right.
Not named Donovan McCulley. 8 different guys. Their top 4 receivers are all up there. Elijah Surratt is the leader, but you've got 4 great options, and then a litany of guys behind that. That doesn't include the running game, which also has a wide array of guys that are running the ball. And defense, it's the same thing. This is a complete team effort, and that is what has made Indiana difficult. But if we can prognosticate right now, but until it happens, it hasn't happened. But if Indiana does go 11-1 or even 10-2, there's no way Kurt Cignetti does not win National Coach of the Year. And I think that does happen. I think that he does win Big Ten National Coach of the Year. I think Indiana is going to go 11-1. ESPN's computers have them favored over Michigan's over 60% chance to win that game. It's just, I believe that this is going to be a crazy year, and it's going to happen. And not only are you going to see, this has to be the greatest turnaround in the history of college football, Rick. When is a team that's gone 3-9 turned around, if they are able to do what I think that they're going to do, even if it's 10-2, go 10-2? No, that's not possible to make that kind of a turnaround, one would think.
I can't say that it's never happened, but I don't remember it happening, not to this degree, especially considering it's not just they were bad last year, they were bad the last 3 years. So to turn it around that quickly is remarkable. And yeah, he'll be, the only way he wouldn't be National Coach of the Year is if Kalen DeBoer goes undefeated at Alabama following Nick Saban. You underestimate the power of the college football writers to always gravitate towards the SEC and the big name programs. But yeah, if he goes 11-1, I like his chances. If he goes 10-2, I think he'll be Big Ten Coach of the Year. But they got to beat Northwestern first, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, Indiana is just a 13.5 point favorite on FanDuel. I don't understand that. The over and under is like 41. Indiana's averaging more points than that. Last week, Northwestern's quarterback was 5 of 27 for 59 yards or something. I'm like, okay, Vegas is just not on that train yet, which is great for if you're betting the game. Someone mentioned earlier, if you're betting Indiana this year, you'd have made a fortune. If you would have bet Indiana from the first game and just let it roll, I can't imagine how much money you would have made right now.
Right.
I don't see this as a game that's going to be close.
Let's see. If only I could say is the Hoosiers' last one in Evanston. 1993, is that right?
Well, they don't play them all the time, so that's.
Let me count them up. They lost in 95. That's 1. They lost in 2000.
Northwestern was good in the 90s.
That's 2. 2002, that's 3. 2004, that's 4. 2007, that's 5. 2009, that's 6. 2012, that's 7. And 2016, 8. They've lost 8 in a row in Evanston. There you go.
Means nothing to me because I swear, because I have looking at this team, I have put blinders on. I don't care what has happened with the Indiana football program. This is not your grandpa's, your dad's, or your older brother's program, baby. It is all different, and it's been so much fun covering a winter, but it's going to be a blast. What's up next for you this weekend?
I'll be here for the SMU Louisville game at noon, and I'll watch the Hoosiers on TV to see how that goes. What is that, a Big Ten Network game?
Which game was that?
Indiana.
Oh yes, I believe it's on the BTN.
They're playing that soccer stadium.
It's a 3:30 game, I believe.
Like what?
12,000.
How much?
12,000 something.
How many tickets does Indiana get?
That's a great question. I'm not going to the game this week because I didn't want to deal with everything has been compacted. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with that. So I'm sitting that one out.
Right.
But we'll still have the football postgame show. But yeah, I just I'm calling it the pitch by the lake, which would be kind of cool if you could pitch a picnic or something. Have fun.
Yeah, I mean Northwestern is 17th in the Big Ten in total offense, less
Woo-hoo!
than 300 yards per game.
Indiana's averaging 500 yards per game,
and Northwestern is 10th in total defense, giving up 300 yards a game. So I mean they're not, and that's not like they played a great schedule either, right? They played Washington and that's it. Duke and Washington.
And they lost at home to Duke, and Washington, they scored 5 total points.
Right. In Miami of Ohio, they scored 13 points and won. And only 31 against Illinois. So, yeah, they don't seem to be a great team.
No, they are not, but looking forward to it. And as always looking forward to Wednesdays, brother. I appreciate you so much. As always, hope you have a great one.
All right. You too, man.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and thanks to everybody else. Thanks to Kyle Neddenriep. Thanks to each and every one of you. Without you, we have no reason to be here. But we're grateful for it. Grateful for you guys. And until tomorrow, coming to you live from Big Ten Basketball Media Days, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.